Hi, and welcome to this presentation on the Purdue OWL website. The reason for the presentation is that the Purdue OWL website is one that I will be referencing frequently throughout the next 8 weeks of this course, and it's also a great general writing source that I would encourage you to bookmark to use for other classes that you may have essays to write or for your work experience. It's just a really great website. It's massive. There's a ton of information on here, which makes it really good. It's credible. It's from Purdue University, and it's also updated frequently. So it is a good one. If you're ever looking for an online handbook, this is a place that I would highly, highly recommend. Just as a quick overview, I'm going to show you what's available on the website, and then we'll look specifically at the research pieces. First of all, there is a ton of just general writing information, and as you can see when I clicked down on the arrow, it opened up this other menu and list of all of these things that you can look at. So anything you could ever dream of. If you're having questions about commas, you'd find that under the punctuation tab. There's grammar issues that if you have grammar issues that you need to fix, you can click on the grammar and probably find what you're looking for. There's just a lot of information on here, and I would highly suggest that you consult this for general writing questions. If you don't know where it's listed under the general writing tab, you can always search the OWL. So if you're looking for a comma or do I capitalize a certain word, you can search the OWL and it will pull up the resources that you are going to need. So that's a little bit about the general writing that you will find under the Purdue OWL. What we are most concerned about this semester is the Research and Citation tab. So what I'm going to do is click on that, and it pulls down this drop-down menu, and in there you will find a lot of information about research. Now you can peruse any of these at your leisure if you want to. I will say that we are going to be concentrating on the APA style for this course, but you will find things about MLA, Chicago, or AMA, which are other research styles that sometimes instructors will ask you to use. So again, if you're in a different course and they're asking you to use MLA and not APA, you can consult this resource to help you and to give you some really good information as to how to do those things. As I mentioned before, we're using the APA style, and so I'm going to click on that. And what you'll find here are 3 tabs. The APA style introduction, which I'll click on that, and it will just give you kind of the 2 tabs that we're using here. So it's kind of the intro page, and it will give you a little bit of information about what you'll find in each of those. I'm going to go ahead and click on the APA Overview and Workshop, which hopefully looks familiar to you. This is something that I had asked you to read earlier in the week, talking about what is APA style, why people use it, and who should use it. Also gives you some things about the general APA formats. There's a PowerPoint slide presentation if you want to check that out. Different types of papers. And so reading through this, which hopefully you already did, you should have an idea as to the overview of what APA is all about. What you'll find down here, you'll see some things on in-text citations, footnotes, and endnotes, which we're not going to worry about right now until we get to the writing of the essay. But you will also see things like reference lists and basic rules. If you're using through authors, and how many authors you might have may dictate what you do on your reference list, and so this gives you some information on that. What you'll notice is that you could click on each of these, but it also gives you a little overview as to what you'll find in each of these tabs. You can use this one website or this one page for all of your information. Or some people find this a little bit easier. If you click on the formatting and style guide, it's the same information, just listed out a little bit more concisely. And again, we will use this throughout the entire process. For the 5 sources assignment, which is where you find this presentation, we can skip the general format, the in-text citations, and the footnotes because we're not concerned about that until we get to the writing of your research paper. We will revisit these, but not at this point. What we are concerned about for the 5 sources assignment is the reference list. And you'll notice that there are several different pieces of information that fall under this reference list. And to kind of give you an overview, I would go ahead and read this basic rules for the reference list. This is what you're going to be doing towards the end of the paper when you compose at the end your references list. This is the list that includes all of the research that you have consulted and cited within your research paper. And so if you want to read this, it'll give you some information about where you're headed at the end of this whole process. What you'll find in the author and authors is you're starting to see what your 5 sources assignment is going to look like. This is what you're going to be responsible for, creating what we would call a reference list entry. Now, what this particular tab does is it talks about authors. So if I have a single author, this is what I should do. If I have 2 authors, 3 to 7 authors, etc., etc. So it's a place for you to look. If I don't just have a single author, I want to maybe have some more information about what to do with my author information. This is where it's going to tell me what to do. When I click on some of these links, I'm going to find things that are specific to the type of source that I'm citing. For example, if I went to the library and I found a book, I'm going to click on the book reference list, and I'm going to find just the basic format for the book. So it says author, comma, initials, first initial, second initial, in parentheses, year of publication with a period, title of work in italics, capital letter, notice only at the beginning of the title, the very first word is the only thing that's going to be capitalized in the title, and anything that follows for a subtitle, just the first word, the location of the publisher, and then the publisher's name followed by a period. Now that's a very basic format for a book. So if I have just one author, that's how I'm going to complete that entry. If you notice down here, it gives me an example. Last name, initials. I have 2 authors here. So I have the ampersand, another last name, more initials, date in parentheses, title, publishing location, publishing publisher with a period at the end. So if I have a book, 1 author, or 2 I see an example of, this is what it's going to look like. So I use this as kind of a template. So I just plug in the information. If it's an edited book with no author, this is what it's going to look like. They provide me with an example. If I have an edited book with some authors, if I have a translation, edition other than the first, if I'm only using an article or a chapter from an edited book, it gives me an example of what that should look like. So what I'm using these tabs for is to help me create my works site or my references list entries. So again, if I'm using something in an encyclopedia, this is what it should look like. If it's something that was discussed in a secondary source, or if it's a dissertation, those are things that I am going to be able to follow the formula with correct punctuation, commas, parentheses, periods, following correct capitalization rules. It gives me the options and the examples that I'm going to use for that. A lot of you will probably be using electronic sources, so I'm going to go to the electronic source tab to find out how to create my source entry for something that's found online. If it's an online periodical, this is what it will look like. If it's a scholarly journal, this is what it will look like. There's an online periodical, articles from a database, abstracts, newspaper articles, electronic books, Kindle books. And so you'll see a whole bunch of different things on this list, everything that you might need or might come across in terms of a source. So use this list, all of the things over here marked as reference list, use those to help you come up with your sources, your entries. So you find your source, you go to the library, you find your source, you bring it home, you do it at the library, wherever you are. You click on the appropriate type of source. So again, if it's a book or if it's electronic, those are probably going to be your 2 most common places that you're going to visit. You click on the appropriate one, you scroll through until you find what you're looking for, and then you create your entry in this format, following the correct author, punctuation, capitalization rules as kind of modeled for you in these entries. That's where we'll stop for now. You will notice that there's a lot of other information on here. There's some sample papers, and you can definitely peruse those at your leisure if you want to, and it will be something that we will be getting into later on in this session once we start writing the essay and doing some of those other things. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email, give me a call in my office. I would be glad to help you. This is tricky stuff, and so I want to make sure that you have the information that you need. So if you feel like this is lacking in some way, please reach out so that I can help you to get things rectified. Have a great day.